Oh,
We're live. What is happening?
what is happening? What isn't happening is, I think, a better question. What's up with you? Where on earth is CryptoCito today?
I'm back to Portugal. Yeah, been a couple of months in the US and in Mexico and Colombia, but now I'm back here, and it's wild. Ever since I touched ground in Europe, things are going downwards. So
It has been. This has been the worst week in crypto in many years. I mean,
how would you
yeah.
how would you compare this? I mean, I think you and also Zaki, you have been around for longer than I have. I joined in early 2017. What would you compare this to historically?
This feels a lot more like the Mt. Gox crash than the 2017 crash. What do you think, Zaki? I'm gonna get some coffee.
I don't think there's a real, I don't think there's a real comparable to it. Like, I don't think that there's ever been like, I mean, so all of the other crashes were all due to like subversion of a system well, not subversion by a system. Not all of them were subversion of a system. So I was like going through the list. Like Mt. Gox was insolvent because they were hacked, and like the system was subverted on multiple levels. 2018 was mostly because the market structure wasn't mature enough, right? Like you couldn't short tokens. There wasn't enough liquidity. And so basically the market like froze up and ended up in like a liquidity crisis that took, years, basically a year to recover from. It reminds me a lot of being in Shanghai in 2017 when China shut down all the exchanges. That is to me more reminiscent of what's going on. But like, an economic attack that took multiple billions of dollars to fund, taking out a top 10 chain is just like, wow, this is a completely different, a completely new thing in crypto.
Yeah. Playing in the big leagues now.
Yeah, I've never seen something like this. I think Luna is right now at 1 cent, and over a billion Luna were minted, I think, in the last 2 days alone.
I think they'd be lucky to hang on to 1 cent here.
Yeah, I think the first message, and I've been tweeting about this a lot, is I wouldn't touch Luna right now. Like this is complete Wild West now. There's a lot of money being, betting against Luna because there's still a lot of UST that needs to be burned. So I wouldn't gamble with Luna right now. Sure, it looks very tempting to buy Luna at 1 cent because it was at $100 a few weeks ago. But I think that's the wrong logic.
It's at 0.6 of a cent. We're already 40% down from 1 cent.
Okay. I mean, it's really.
Oh, UST just took a nosedive too. They were holding 60 for a little while. We're getting back down into the 40s.
It's really hard because I know there's a lot of great builders, and Larry tweeted about this as well. He's providing so much value for the infrastructure and stuff, and they were really financially affected by this. It's really hard. I mean, I lost all my money in 2018 because I wasn't experienced enough. I wasn't mature enough. I was a bit more of a moon boy back then, so I know how it feels to lose everything. But there's literally people that put their entire life savings in, maybe even took loans or whatnot.
I have some very, very close friends who did that too. Yeah, it's
really hard.
It's hit everyone in our corner of the industry. I think that there's a lot of Cosmos folks, funny enough, who did not, who kind of watched the Luna thing with amusement over the last year. I don't really know the best word there, but
yeah,
Strangelove never really took a significant Luna position. I don't think Inclusion did either. You guys at least ran a validator over there, though.
We used to run a validator. We didn't sell our Luna that we got from running the validator, which has been painful. But go ahead.
Yeah, Zaki, I was gonna ask because There was, I just recall this, somebody tweeted about a conference a few weeks ago, I think in the Bahamas or something. I don't know if that's even true, but like that you were
I
talking
heard
with
in a
some
conference in
people.
LA about people talking about an attempt to break the USD peg.
So
but-
talk us through about this, and also you just said it requires a lot of economic power to do this, and I don't know, it seemed to have been coordinated or whatever. So maybe you can just share your thoughts on the whole matter, and especially for
it
those
doesn't
people
need
that
to be
don't.
coordinated. It's just someone needs a lot of money, right? You know, because there was easily $3 billion or more that was willing to buy UST at pretty much any price to push to defend the peg. And so in order to break the peg, you needed more money than that. And the, you know, the thing to understand, the best way to thinking about Luna, right, is Luna was a system that if like conviction was ever lost in the system, like the entire system crumbled, right? It was entirely driven. There is no backstop. There is no graceful exit. There is only total system failure. In the event of loss of conviction in the system. So it's not like Maker. It's not like Maker. It's not like other sort of CDP model stablecoins. It is entirely driven by conviction. But there was $3 billion like committed to protecting conviction in the system. And in order to break conviction in the system, you had to be able to put more money at risk than there was to protect the system. And you know, that's really what's unique and novel about this whole situation is really, you know, we have hypothesized for the last 10 years in the industry about like large amounts of dollars being put at risk to break cryptocurrency systems. But this has never happened before, where like, you know, something on the neighborhood of $3 to $5 billion was put at risk, which, and like that money could have been lost, right? If the defense had succeeded, which you could have. Now part of the problem is like the attacker knew how much money the defender had, because this is how the LFG operated, right? It was like, these are our committed funds. And the attacker could then say, if I can raise more money than that to attack the system, I can win. And so that was the mechanism to manage that.
Can you explain to the audience what the vulnerability in that system was? I mean, the loss in confidence didn't just come out of nowhere, right? There was some vulnerability that was attacked and exploited, so that the peg was lost. And I think over the past months, we've also talked about this, and also I had Sunny on my show. He also said that what Luna is doing is very interesting with the mint and burn model, but it's also very experimental, and we don't know how sustainable it is, where it goes in the long term. So can you explain a little bit what the vulnerability was that eventually got exploited?
So it
was kind of like a small chink in the armor.
I don't know that it was a small chink in the armor, right?
When they were moving between pool 3 and pool 4, they like opened up.
Yes, there was a lot of stuff that happened. There is the like details of the attack, right? Where there was a moment where UST liquidity on Curve was decreasing because they were setting up this new pool 4, which if pool 4 had been successfully set up, would have actually made this attack much more difficult and much more expensive. And so, you know, the attacker chose the moment of maximum vulnerability to do this attack. The attack was, but like, why did Luna fail so catastrophically? once it was below the peg, right? Because if Luna is below the peg, you print. So the Luna's mint mechanism is anyone who has UST can unilaterally mint new Luna against that UST, right? And so the mechanism is designed so that once the UST is minted, once UST is below the peg, you are printing, minting Luna as if it was as if the UST was $1, but like the UST was cheaper. So for every dollar of UST you buy, you are minting more than $1 of Luna. And this is the part of the system that where the system just kind of consumes itself, is as the peg is the attacker and like everyone else who's trying to get out is sitting there watching the peg go down. They're buying UST below $1 and minting more than $1, or minting more than $1's worth of Luna. So you're just constantly flooding the system with Luna that you then sell, which then like recurses back into the system, and the whole system implodes.
And at the same time, I think we're seeing now since the peg broke, especially since I think yesterday morning, massive short positions on Luna, which further fuels this death spiral downwards. And Luna is just in an absolute free fall right now. But yeah, so I also hear this a lot, and somebody in the comments also said, is it a Ponzi? Was it a bank run? What was it? What do you say now in hindsight?
I mean, I think that this term Ponzi got thrown around really liberally for a very long time. And I think we need to, just reassess that a little bit as a community, calling everything Ponzi's. I mean, there is to a certain extent, when you're starting something new, you're saying, hey, here's this future, who believes in it with me? And you have to get people behind an idea before it's actually done. Is that entire dynamic a Ponzi, or is that how we build human organizations and have for generations? I don't know. Now, I guess one definition of it would be like, when they're bad, they're Ponzi's, and when they're good, we call them corporations. So I think what's very clear is Doe and the Terra team were, at the very least, straddling that line and doing something incredibly risky and not really being terribly transparent about the risks. I think, a lot of folks in the industry, that quote you had from Sunny is a great example. Everyone was saying like, this is interesting. It'll be interesting to see how it goes. And what that means in code is like, well, this type of thing has been tried in the past. It looks like it might blow up. It has that potential. So, yeah, it's like, was it a Ponzi? I don't know. Was it an unstable system that was prone to runs? I think that was pointed out by many observers, and that's what we saw.
So I think I'd say like the difference between it being a Ponzi and being a different kind of game is, like, in a Ponzi, there's only one end point to the system, which is the game ends when like there isn't any new inflow of capital into the system, and the system just kind of breaks. Now we've been calling the anchor scheme a Ponzi, which is a different thing than calling UST a Ponzi, though they're related. Now the anchor yields could not be sustained forever, right? Like the anchor yields were sustained by new capital inflows into the system. Now the question has always been, could you like decrease the anchor yield without causing mass redemption of UST and a death spiral? That was always the question. That's largely the way that like the question of like, is Luna sustainable, is UST sustainable, had been posed, which is at some point we have to take this this marketing spend that we're doing through the anchor yield mechanism.
Did you just get a message?
Yeah, I just got a message.
Something blowing up again.
No,
I think
always something blown up.
Yeah, I think the anchor component is definitely a big thing, because I think at some point 70 or 80% of the UST circulating supply was deposited on anchor, which could be perceived as the primary utility or demand driver for UST, for people to buy just to get these 20% yield on anchor, which were subsidized. So, like I said, unsustainable.
Yeah,
so maybe that
the question was always posed in the way of, as we bring down the anchor yields, will you trigger some, really what people were expecting is some significantly milder version of this, Luna price falling by potentially, 60% or 70%, not 99% or beyond fall, like basically catastrophic failure. This idea of a multi-billion-dollar funded attack, especially when, like, most players that you would come to the top of your mind as being able to fund a multi-billion-dollar attack on Luna were like long Luna, right? Or like long the UST ecosystem, right? Alameda, Jump, etc. These are the names that would come to your mind, is like, hey, like, who could put together a large amount of capital to like attack the system?
Yeah. Or, I mean, there's also this Citadel Conspiracy. I don't know. I haven't deeply looked into this stuff. But whether that was maybe coordinated by traditional hedge funds or even regulators themselves. But yeah, I don't know. Now, the question is this the end for algorithmic stablecoins in general? And I know, Zaki, you're working closely also with the Agoric team, right? They have the Run. I think they rebranded it now to IST. Yeah. So what does this mean? What does this mean for algorithmic or decentralized stablecoins in general?
Okay. So I used to think of the world as there are like four different kinds of stablecoins. But really I've come down to a world where there's like three. One is you are in one kind is that you have like dollars or like hard assets in a warehouse. Like, so Tether, has various assets and that they're holding, with bitfinex telling us that they don't exist. But and Tether also being implicitly backed by the cash flows of cryptocurrency exchanges. The second piece that you have with the second aspect of this is you have stable coins that are backed by sort of inflationary value, of which Terra was like a different version of that than what has been traditionally done, but it was definitely in that category. It was like you have Luna inflation, and it like is driving the expansion of the stablecoin. And then you have a third kind, which is stable coins that are based on some sort of perpetual option, some sort of future. And like maker style CDP based stable coins are very much in that category. Inter is in that category. Now you have a pure form of that you're starting to see examples of that are facilitated by having the ability to construct, like, programmatically open and manipulate futures positions. Like UXD on Solana is based on programmatically, like the program opening up Sol future positions on Mango markets. But like this kind of perpetual instrument has become like really well understood in over the course of like the design of cryptocurrencies. Like we keep stumbling into the same design patterns, and this seems to work. Like it seems to really work. Basically what I would think we should probably be ready to admit is that seniorage-based stablecoins, the second category, the thing that Luna falls into, are too vulnerable to attackers. If an attacker can exist at this size, it is just it is insane to build systems like this. Now you have other things that are like you have other stablecoin models like Frax and Phi that I don't think I understand well enough to be like, hey, like these do or don't work. So I think the biggest problem is going to, I think the real lesson from the system is that if you're building a stablecoin, you need to build into your threat model, your economic threat model, the idea of a super well-funded attacker that has, you know, $5 to $10 billion to spend on destroying your to put at risk to destroy your stablecoin, actually as being like a real thing that exists in the real world.
So what would be, because now obviously UST has been the predominant stablecoin within the Cosmos ecosystem, right? And there's 300 cosmonauts right now listening, and maybe some of them still have liquidity on Cosmos dexes. So what do you guys think as we move forward? I know, Jack, you just had a call with the Osmosis team regarding an emergency proposal for Luna and UST pools on Osmosis. Yeah, what are your thoughts about how the downfall of UST and Luna affects Cosmos liquidity in general on Osmosis and other dexes?
I think it flows pretty quickly into UST and USDC that's coming over via Axelar. It's really funny in hindsight thinking about the bridge wars on Osmosis, and basically the net effect of that was a delayed adoption of other stable coins besides UST. But those things are available now. I think we see those. And then, you know, with what Zaki's working on with Run, which sounds like it has a new name, by the way.
Inter. It's now Inter. There's a there was a Solana coin that like front run us, got a coin
those
out
assholes.
In the world.
Those
named
assholes.
Run. It's impossible to name anything in crypto. It's like
it's horrible.
Any name that you're trying to do is like immediately like something else comes out with that same name.
Call it Chico.
While you're like trying to talk to your trademark people. Inter is the Agoric stablecoin. Yeah.
Well, Cito, you better get on the Cito coin, like stat.
It's coming. It's coming. One day.
Yeah. So Inter, I think, is going to be another option here soon. But yeah, it's definitely an underserved need. I think when the dust settles, I think that there's a few lessons from this that it's always fucking Solana. Yes, it is. When the dust settles on this, I think that the lessons that I'm going to take from it are Tendermint is totally resilient against the most adversarial market conditions. Like, loved seeing those graphics of the different validators and their missed blocks over on Terra. And there's a ton of red on the chart, but oh, look, chain's still chugging along, producing blocks like once every 5 to 10 seconds. And, you know, that's exactly what this system is designed to do. Hold up, no matter what.
Let me jump in.
Yeah, please.
There's a counterpoint to this, which is, you know, one of the things that has always made me nervous about Terra and IBC is this minting mechanism. And I think we probably can never allow into the IBC ecosystem again a token where the native token can be minted in arbitrary, unpredictable amounts based on market conditions and like short-term governance action. Basically, like, you know, we are like the crisis mode that we're in Cosmos that we've been talking about, like the way this really affects the rest of the ecosystem is the risk of someone taking over the Terra chain and producing invalid state transitions, changing the rules. There's like a huge amount of disruption potentially possible.
I think so, Zaki, I like absolutely respect and understand that. We're obviously working with teams to try to solve this, but I do want to place this risk in like context. The risk is tokens pooled with tokens from Terra right now. That's like that's the whole risk.
Yeah.
There's not a consensus instability risk to any Tendermint chains, which is what I hear a bunch of ETH maxis out there saying. There's no like systemic risk to other Cosmos chains in terms of consensus instability. It is just tokens pooled in AMMs. That's it. So what we're trying to save is ensure that people who are in AMMs, who are LPs in pools with Terra tokens, are safe.
Yes.
And like that is the only real risk here.
I think also the Terraform Labs came out this morning and they staked another 240 million Luna or something.
But something like 3 billion were minted today.
I think they need to do a couple billion.
Oh my god.
I
don't think anyone's staking their Terra right now either.
Yeah, they're probably all unstaking. But there's still, how much is it? $50-60 million of liquidity on Osmosis with UST, pooled with UST and pooled with Luna, something like, I think 50 million. So explain please precisely for everybody who might be affected now and is probably panicking, what the risk is, how likely it is, and what the potential short-term solution might be.
Here's about the only way to do it. Buy enough Luna, stake it to an individual validator to take over a 2/3 majority of the Luna chain, and then use your validator key to sign an IBC update client with the new Terra chain, and then use some undeveloped tooling to make invalid state transitions over on Terra and mint a bunch of UST or Luna over on the Osmosis chain. Honestly, it's probably easy.
Honest and say the only person I actually know who could plausibly do this attack is Jack.
Yeah,
I think Jack is the only person who relays that well.
Oh, Zachy. Well, I feel flattered by that statement. I appreciate that. As much as I want to go do crimes, it would be fun. But this attack is extremely unlikely. It would be much easier to just go buy the Terra on the open market.
Jack,
Callum, that's a nervous laugh. Hey, Callum, if you want to know how to do crimes too, come hang out at Strangelove. Let's go. I know you want to build Cosmwasm getting started guides and other fun stuff. And also folks are excited about Hell Social. Let's go. But yeah, I think it's unlikely that this attack gets pulled off. I think that this is great for us to be talking about it as an ecosystem because it is a real risk. A well-funded and technically capable attacker could totally pull this off. But I don't think it's a massive issue. Could we discuss the impact this could have on XPRT? Minimal. XPRT is not really exposed in a critical way to Luna.
Well, so the main way this doesn't affect like B Atom, XPRT in a big way is I believe all of those things go over the wormhole bridge. And we have talked about the trade-offs between wormhole and IBC a lot. Wormhole has a bunch of risks. It doesn't have this like extreme, it has a bunch of Cosmwasm contracts that facilitate the bridge. It is far less decentralized system than IBC. It doesn't, involve signatures from the entire Luna validator set. But the one thing it does is that the wormhole guardians all run Luna full nodes and are tracking invalid state transitions. So your attack cannot be this attack. The attack that I don't, during Game of Zones, we offered to pay people. The biggest prize really was, can you produce one of these forged IBC packets? We've been, I've been asking for a long time for someone to build like demo attack tooling for this, and it's never happened. And so It's certainly possible, but like it would be pretty interesting. But the Cosmos people are a cautious bunch, and we're treating this threat as a real thing.
Yeah, I think it's good. Like as the interchain evolves, these sort of trust boundaries between different chains, I think, are going to become more and more important. And right now, the IBC network is like wide open. There's no like flow restricting anything. And, that was how the internet worked at first. And any router accepted all the packets. And then we like slowly built in packet filtering and sort of network isolation to allow different parts of the network to sort of protect themselves from different classes of attacks. I think that that is the sort of a next frontier in IBC tooling. So, for example, one way to help protect Osmosis from this attack would be to prevent incoming packets from Terra, i.e., allow users to exit back to Terra if they wanted to, but then to cut off the flow of incoming packets.
Yeah,
that's an easy thing the Osmosis
that would
teams
mitigate the risk. Yeah.
And I think in the future, what we'll see is as the DAO tooling that's sort of nascent right now improves, we'll see chains create DAOs for the special purpose of being able to protect against various parts of IBC attacks. I saw somebody ask for one-day governance proposals. This type of action, this like quick action, is way too hard to ask governance to do. There's too much communication overhead. It's way too hard. We need groups that are elected by governance that are able to do these things. And I think that that's kind of the future of security in Cosmos.
Yeah. This is like one of the things that the groups module was built for.
Yep.
We can, I don't think we have groups integrated with IBC clients yet to have like groups that can be elected to be like, hey, turn off this IBC channel. But like, that's definitely a direction that we should go in the future. And certainly I think in the experience of this crisis, I mean, we've learned a lot. I mean, I've seen block proposer and MEV behavior on Luna that we've never seen before on Terra before, on a Tendermint chain before. It's been really amazing. We are seeing IBC
interesting behavior. Do you want to talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's a lot of like weird behavior. Like, I mean, the Terra blocks, like the last, few weeks have been, the last like 4 days have just been like really strange, really crazy. Everything from like, gas and like sort of attacking the validator set, maybe trying to halt the chain, which didn't work, which was cool. But like, there were definitely things that were trying to like increase, validator resource consumption using, manipulation of CosmWasm contracts, use a lot of things where people are probably look like they're running like non-standard mempools that are doing things that the normal mempool wouldn't do, like submitting duplicate transactions and putting them into blocks. All of these things are kind of happening in Terra. This has been, I mean, this has been fascinating, right? It's just like, what does this network look like in the most adversarial? What do Tendermint networks look like under like extremely adversarial circumstances, right? And
held up way better than I thought they would.
Honestly, yeah. Same. But there's like a lot of interesting data that has been, and like hats off to like a lot of teams who run validators who have been opening up like group chats and stuff like that with various people in sort of the core Cosmos team, freaking us out with like weird shit that's happening. But like, there have been a lot of fire alarms pulled at various points in the last 4 days. So far, nothing has really manifested as something that we actually are super critical to get dealt with. But like, for, this IBC thing with Osmosis, it's a great example of, just I spent like the entire like last like 8 hours while Sunny and Dave were sleeping, like refreshing the validator page on the explorers, looking for anomalies in voting power. to see whether or not any sort of attack might be happening. But that's where we're at.
Yeah.
Zaki is watching.
Zaki's watching. So what would you say as we move forward? What are some of the measures the LFG and Terraform Labs can do? And I think they already came out, one with the proposal to increase the minting capacity by 4x, so they could swallow this pill faster and get UST burned, which is already happening. I think that proposal, I don't know if it's already implemented. I didn't keep track of that. But what are some of the other measures that they can do, or that you expect that they will do, that Do Kwon will do? I think he said he has a recovery plan that he's gonna implement.
There's no recovery plan.
Yeah, it's over. They should pack it up and go home.
So
cheeky SOM update for some good news.
Main things that they talked about. What?
Cheeky SOM update for some good news. We're launching a stablecoin seller.
We're launching a stablecoin seller. UST is not in the seller.
I guess do you believe? I guess there's a more direct question, that UST will ever get back to its peg. And
the question, the real question is, what does Luna liquidity look like over the next 6 months or so? Is really what the question is. If there is still if there are still marginal buyers of Luna, over the next months or years, to sort of slowly absorb exit, the mechanism will, in theory, restabilize at the peg. It is possible. The biggest real risk to that, to like whether or not, the biggest question that will happen is, we've seen there's like a lot of chatter on Twitter about exchanges either delisting or talking about delisting Luna. Luna liquidity could potentially really dry up. At that point, then there's like no real mechanism to restore the peg.
And then even if that peg would restore it short term, I guess they would have to entirely move away from that model, right? I mean, that's not sustainable. So yeah, and I don't know. I really don't know where this is going. Seems like they don't really have many options. The damage is already done.
Yeah, I mean, the other option that's really out there that has been floated, right? There's like a proposal from DSRV, which is, essentially do like a hard fork of the system, like tear the whole state, like launch it, like build a CosmWasm chain that's a fork of the whole system, tear out the stablecoin, tear out everything, airdrop the tokens to the current Luna holders and UST holders, like make a new chain, make a new ecosystem, and sort of start from scratch, which is not an implausible idea. It like especially if exchange delistings sort of kill the Luna liquidity.
Yeah.
I'm interested to see how other Cosmos communities end up making a play for the Luna community, because as this is happening, I think that a lot of people got drawn to Luna from Ethereum because of the user experience, the better tooling, the nicer ecosystem, all the things that we all kind of like about Cosmos. And I think many of those people are kind of natural cosmonauts. So I'm interested to see how different chains and communities make a play for Luna folks. I think that the obvious first ones would be Juno, Osmosis, Secret Network, with the WASM VMs are likely to try to port some things over. So it'll be really interesting to see.
So you're basically saying it could be possible that a lot of the development is being absorbed by other Cosmos chains in the network.
Yeah, I mean, those folks have valuable skills. Like they know how to do CosmWasm programming in a way that few others do. And there's tooling that was developed for Terra that will be broadly valuable to Cosmos. And, this is like, I know it might be too soon for some people to talk about, but, it's going to be important to capture that work, make sure to hold on to it and take the good parts of it. I think that Luna has always kind of stayed in a different corner in terms of open source development, and they've kind of tried to build their own thing. We were right in the middle of the process of merging the two communities and trying to bring the development communities together. There were a lot of efforts from different members of Cosmos and Luna. Folks like Larry and Marco come to mind, and other folks, Jason Stallings over from the Luna team, a number of Luna validators like PFC and a few others who were starting that conversation between the two communities. But I think this really accelerates that and brings a lot of Terra devs over into Cosmos. And I think that there's an interesting community aspect to this as well. There's a lot of Terra people who liked Terra and are going to be disappointed about this, but still want to continue, in blockchain. Some people will get flushed out. There's going to be a large chunk of people who never want to look at this stuff again, which totally understandable. But there's going to be a bunch of people who are interested. So like, how do communities like Juno bring the Terra folks in? And I think that's going to be an interesting story over the next couple of weeks and months.
Yeah, I mean, I think like one of the things that is important to recognize is how little, like the biggest dependency on Terra in the Cosmos DeFi ecosystem is that it was the largest stablecoin. It was the largest stablecoin, but what the largest stablecoin is in the Cosmos ecosystem doesn't need to be static, just like it's generally hasn't been static on Ethereum, what the largest stablecoin is. And so I think it's very likely that other stablecoins, I'm working on one, will rise. And there will be, and like all of the infrastructure in DeFi that exists in Cosmos and that's being built will continue to have an ample selection of stablecoins. I also think it's really fantastic that Axelar is bringing the Ethereum stablecoins and the dollar-backed stablecoins over into the ecosystem. So that's a really good stuff.
Yeah, and I think we also have eEuro from the eMoney team, right?
Yeah.
I heard yesterday on the Osmosis Twitter Spaces, Sunny's they're also like considering the Osmosis dollar. Comdex announced one, or is going to announce one. Silk from the Shade Protocol team. So I think there's I think one of the biggest learnings, both from a stablecoin landscape point of view, but also from personal investment portfolio view, is diversification, and not putting all eggs in one basket is really, really important. It has been really harsh for a lot of people, but yeah, it's also for a lot of protocols like Osmosis. But I think we're going to see this. But speaking of USDC and USDT, which are asset-backed stablecoins, I think USDC is a bit more transparent in terms of their reserves. But Tether has been in a discussion to be a big risk since, they basically started, I think, 8 or 9 years ago. They're super old. How likely do you guys see the fall of Tether? Is this an attack now that's going to go on a lot of stable coins out there, asset-backed, algorithmic? How likely do you think that Tether would go down?
I think it's really hard for me to imagine Tether going down in any circumstance other than, okay. So here's the thing. Here are the things about Tether, right? So like, one is we condemn the opacity of Tether. Like, what assets do they hold? We just get like random comments from their C-suite. But as you can see from what happened with LFG, revealing as a stablecoin what your reserve assets are opens you up to attack. It creates vulnerabilities. And especially in light of this, it's like it starts to make more sense. Why is Tether just never really saying what it is that they're holding? But the reality of the situation is Tether is the driver of revenue for Binance. It is the driver of revenue. It is the revenue driver for Binance. It is the revenue driver for FTX. And the two most profitable businesses in the space that have multiple billions of dollars a month of free cash flow are effectively the backstop of Tether. And so it is. One is nobody knows what reserves Tether has really, and so you both have to overcome the access to cash flow that like the large exchanges have. You don't know what assets that Tether actually has and where they might be able to sell them in an attack. You have like this like large deep-pocketed world of Tether holders. Like all of that stuff has made attacking Tether. My sense of what happened, like this morning in Europe or like late at night in the US, was mostly just like standard market flight to safety stuff. One of the things about the Tether market that I have become more familiar with over the last couple of weeks is the fact that most Tether is minted onto Tron because Tron provides discounts on Tether minting onto Tron. And because of this, when you suddenly drain the curve pool because you decided to move a few $100 million of UST out of the curve pool, there actually isn't a bunch of Tether. There's actually a relatively small amount of Tether on Ethereum, and a lot of it is locked up in various pools. So there's not easily, you can't like easily do that arb. And we're living in a world where every market maker has like not slept in 4 days. People are exhausted. And like it took a few hours for basically people to figure out, how do I get this Tether from Tron to Ethereum, clean, like, sort out the curve pools and make everything work again.
So you think it's rather unlikely that there would be a big downfall of Tether? But I think if it would happen, I mean, Tether has the market size of 6x than UST had at the peak, so it would obviously be really, really harsh if it would happen. But yeah, so I don't know. What are your, I don't know, any other comments on things moving forward? Maybe some things that we can look forward to. I guess the next weeks are going to be really, really tough for everybody.
So I will basically say, like the actual reality of the situation is, like, I mean, and it's like it is hard to be like, but like let's talk about like the real politic of this whole situation, which is in many ways like Luna was a threat to Atom. It was a threat to Atom's role as a fiat on-ramp. It was a threat to Atom as the most robust price discovery asset in the ecosystem. All of the things that, like, Jack and I worked really hard in 2019 to set up Atom as the sort of on-ramp to IBC was like really threatened by Luna. And the uniqueness of Atom was threatened by Luna. That basically, it means that, like, I think the death of Luna basically is a huge validation for Atom. It is like, as you look towards the future, right, it means that most things on top of Cosmos and most things on top of IBC are going to be built on top of Atom, and not some other token. So for those of us who hold Atoms, those of us who work in this sort of larger sort of Atom DAO, this is not this is probably long-term bullish.
Yeah, I think also now I'm really happy actually that Atom does not have these crazy aggressive tokenomics, which is one thing that it was always criticized for that. Oh my God, it doesn't accrue value. It doesn't, have what Luna has pegged to UST. But yeah, it came as it came. I don't know, really tough time, because I know a lot of people in my audience also. There's more than 400 people right now that are listening to what we say. So I also don't want to. I want to be careful with also the wording and what we say, because it's very sensitive. Everything is still very fresh here, and I know a lot of people have lost a lot of money. And again, I want to remind everybody. Yeah, go ahead.
The big things that the contagion risk that I think we've been seeing play out over the last 24 hours has been funds that have lost large fractions of the fund and are facing redemptions from their limited partners, and are basically having to sell like anything else that they have to try and get funds out to their LPs has been like a huge thing. There are definitely dozens of startup companies, both in crypto and not in crypto, that were basically having a large amount of their like treasury, the funds that they raised from investors in UST, and have taken massive haircuts on that. And you're going to see a lot. This is a terrible fundraising environment right now, especially if you're not in crypto, but also for crypto things.
It's real bad for everyone.
It's real bad for everyone, right? And so you're going to see startups that can't make payroll. That's going to be a big story too.
Which is wild, because 7 weeks ago we were literally at all-time highs for a lot of coins, and nobody would have ever predicted that things went so fast. So yeah. Wild.
And then I think like I said, I think this is a teachable moment for crypto, really, which is like large well-resourced attackers exist. Both, North Korea hacking into your keys and hacking your bridges, and whoever had the resources to be behind this. It's also just like it's going to be interesting, right? It's like whoever did this, it seems like it's going to become a mystery on the same level as like who is Satoshi and who the DAO was, right? Like who killed Terra, right? It seems like it's going to be the next big mystery in crypto.
I have one last question before we go on and talk about. People are demanding, that we talk about Prop 69 and want to hear. We talked about this last week also on Twitter, but it seems like this has already been months ago, and since then everything changed 360.
Yeah.
But before we talk about this, let me just ask you.
I'm ready. I got my talking points ready. I'm good to go.
Just another question on a more macro view on this crypto space. You said, this is going to affect the startup environment, the funding environment. A lot of people are now panicking. They think, this is either the end for crypto, or this is going to send us to a multi-year bear market. Just from your guys' experience, what do you think over the next few months, how this will affect the macroeconomics of the whole industry that we're in?
I mean, it's going to be rough. This is a huge opportunity for anyone with capital to come in and get in at a great buying point. We're likely to see more bleeding from here. I think we'll see smart actors sort of continue to move forward. Zucky and I have done multiple crypto bear markets at this point. Zucky's done more than I have. Zucky built Skew Chain back in the 2015, 2016 bear market. So we have built through bear markets multiple times. Cosmos was built primarily in a bear market. Great. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, I'm here for the revolution. I'm here to migrate the existing financial system over to decentralized rails, and that mission hasn't changed. We built some incredible software. There's a huge step up in IBC capabilities that we're in the middle of doing right now, where we're moving from this email era to this full application era, and to really true async composability between different chains. and having this little breather in terms of a market actually is going to make that transition easier. We're going to move folks over a lot quicker, and I think we see the infrastructure pieces of that get shipped a lot more quickly. It's a lot easier to focus as a developer, as a company, as a leader in a bear market, which is kind of clarifying in a way than it is in a bull market. So, strong players who are here for the long term and have a community around them will succeed and thrive. And, people who have tried to go it alone, people who don't have funding, they're going to struggle.
Yeah. I think the worst that you can do now is exit the industry. Even if you just joined recently and put in a little bit of money, lost everything, I think now is a good time to learn, to network, to connect, to go to events. I'm also really excited for Prague because I think we only see the hardcore cosmonauts there. So, yeah, I think now is a good time to do all these things and not get too emotional with the price volatility, because that's what we sign up for. It's a young industry, but like you said, and that's why I also wanted to ask you this, because you're more on the builder development side of things. You might have a different view on the market than people that are just putting in a few $100 and hope for the best and don't really know what they're actually buying. So yeah, and yesterday I talked with Billy about this, and he has a very similar view on how he views building through the bear. So Saki, do you have any?
This is the other thing, though, is like, again, it's like, actually, I mean, the reality is Cosmos is actually like pretty much designed for bear markets. And like, as just like organizationally, structurally, all of that stuff. And we don't do well in bull markets, right? Like we don't have a single company that can like, hire a bunch of biz dev people and like there's like basically zero MBAs in Cosmos, right? Every other ecosystem has like a team of like 50 MBAs who like show up and like shill their stuff at like, all over the world to like every corporate partner that they can find. And Cosmos is like, no, we have zero MBAs. Luna decided to build on us because like I did a bunch of phone calls with Doe like back in 2019. And it was like, I think this is the best stuff to build on. If you're building like a retail payment system, I think it's the best technology. Crypto.com uses our stuff because they like it. Most people who use our stuff use it because they like it. No one shilled them on it. No one told them a fantastic story about the stuff that it might do in the future. We were just like, oh, we like keep building stuff. So it sort of plays to the strengths of the Cosmos ecosystem. And yeah, so here we are.
Yeah, and I also saw somebody in the comments earlier saying that the Terra case basically also validated the whole architecture of Cosmos because it doesn't affect Atom, it doesn't affect Osmosis. I mean, on a liquidity level, sure, but not on a technical level because it's all sovereign, isolated.
Yeah, and like probably if we don't do this again, which is like build a system that can like, people are definitely, shilling their various shared security stories because of the consensus risk to Luna. But really this risk is primarily comes from the fact that you have unbounded minting of the governance asset in the crypto economic design of Terra. And so as long as we don't do that again, like we probably don't have to worry. It's like, if only a system in which you can mint like 20x the circulating supply in 3 days like is really a huge problem from a governance point of view.
Proposal 69, Jack, you got
yeah, I do. So all of the people talking about the systemic risk from just having CosmWasm touch anything Gaia related should look at the most intense like transaction volume and like economic attacks, as well as a number of other things on Terra over the last few days with a permissionless CosmWasm chain. And the fact that it not only held up, but was able to continue producing blocks and look and say, hey, maybe this CosmWasm thing's a lot more secure than we thought it was. In a lot of this sort of security concern trolling that's been being done by certain people within the ecosystem is way overblown. So this would be my sort of like immediate read on the CosmWasm situation.
There we go. Proposal 69 rant. But I mean, the the proposal is, how long do we still have left? It's at 69% minus against now, only 10.73% for yes. We have until the 12th. Today, it's ending today, no?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it doesn't seem like it's going through. So what's the plan moving forward?
What I also, what I worry about, to be completely honest, is I worry about the Atom holders sort of giving into fear, right? Which is, yes, Luna was an experiment. Yes, Luna went horribly wrong in basically the ways that people predicted that it could. So yes, analysis is required, and we should debate everything. And part of the problem that we have with Cosmos governance right now that I'm trying to figure out a way to do something about is that we don't have an ongoing governance debate. We just have propositions, and then we fight about it for 2 weeks, and try to download context into all of the hundreds of thousands of Atom holders' brains over those 2 weeks. When reality of Cosmwasm on the hub was, we've been talking about it for months and years, but there aren't people whose kind of day job is to go, okay, here are the things that we're going to talk about for the future of Atom, and let's write blog posts about it. Let's try and inform people. So we're going to have to figure out a better way of doing this, and it's something that I'm thinking a lot about. I'm fine with building liquid staking using interchain staking, interchain security. It's not really a catastrophic problem. And honestly, the other thing that it is right? What is the thing that I was afraid of? The thing I was afraid of is Luna. That was the immediate compelling threat to Atom. And so, and that was a lot of the motivation of the work that I was doing. But I still think that Atom tokenomics need a substantial refresh. There's a lot of changes that need to be done. Just knowing what we know now about how to design tokens, we definitely have a lot of work to do. But it's not it's a little bit, it's kind of okay to but that's the one thing that we need to figure out a way of changing, which is continuous governance discussion rather than let's fight for 2 weeks about a proposal and then forget about it.
I think that's also kind of a function of the way that governance happens right now, where there's these disconnected conversations that are happening all over the place, and they kind of bubble up into this top level chain governance. And then there's this burst of people who need context. And what we see is the camps have already formed down here, and then they pop up top, and people are like, what the fuck is going on? I think one way to help handle this would be to maybe have a committee that governance proposals need to go through before they reach chain, and have that committee be on chain. Maybe have a couple of them for different pieces of governance. And then there's it sort of takes a lot of the sort of explosive nature of these debates and will help moderate that, maybe. I think that's one way to do it.
Yeah, I think the HiFi team is trying to find out a way to implement such a thing.
Yeah, because but the problem with the HiFi team is they seem to be doing great work, but none of it is public facing. You don't. It's and the problem is that if we don't build a mechanism of engaging this very large Atom holder community that we have, the noise wins, right? This is the problem, right? And so I'm trying to, this is a huge reminder of, you just can't compress the entire, how should Atom work in the future question into a 2 week period, right? The biggest problem is Atom is not optimally designed. It was designed based on what we knew in 2016. It is not based on what we know in 2022. And Atom needs work.
Yeah. All right. So yeah, we'll see when the time is progressing, and also interchain security comes out. I think Inform is doing a lot of work there. So keep track of that. Another factor that was, I don't know, I don't want to talk too much about this, but Jenny's saying here in the comments she just voted no because Jay promised an airdrop. There was also a big discussion, public debate on Twitter that a lot of people were really furious about. But yeah, I think when there's another proposal, maybe without an airdrop incentive to vote against it, it's also more democratic.
We can put up another proposal, but I think that there is a quorum of people who are like, hey, we want to put all of the arrows behind the interchain staking solution and not at least among the validator community and frankly the whale community. Like the refrain that I've heard from this proposition, or at least the way I've perceived it, is people are like, no, like we don't want to try and do have two developer stories for the hub. We want to have is interchain security, which okay.
Yeah. All right. I know you guys are extremely busy right now. I'm sure you get hit up 1,000 times per second right now with messages. Is there anything else that you want to talk about before we wrap it up? We have still 400 people listening right now live. Any final message you want to leave them with?
Yeah, I mean, Cosmos is here for the long term. We're not going anywhere. What we built just survived a huge battle test. And, I think it's also pointed out a lot of areas where we need to improve as a community. Better tooling around crisis management for both security upgrades, as well as doing stuff like, say, restricting access to certain IBC channels, allowing for some sort of firewalls in IBC is going to be a really, really important feature that we're going to need to rush out here. I think some other stuff around single chain performance will be really critical. Yeah, Tendermint didn't stop yesterday, but if you look at the amount of failed transactions, it was huge. I think it was around 30% of all transactions sent to Terra failed. And that behavior causes users to kind of start spamming the chain, which exacerbates things. I will say one nice thing that I think that we need to think about when we're designing fee models in the future is fees didn't spike. A lot of users found that valuable, and it offers a potentially different model for networks to respond under congestion other than this spiking fees model leading to multi-$1,000 transactions. You just have to resubmit a few times, and potentially that advantages people who are running their own infrastructure. There's some implications there that I think need to be thought through, but that's interesting. On the single chain performance side, the work that Zaki's doing with Mistin Labs, actually we at SOM are doing, I need to spin up on that a little bit more. We were just talking about it yesterday, to help improve mempool prioritization and throughput. A lot of the work that the core teams are doing around S&T and other storage improvements, some work that's being done to parallelize transaction processing throughout Cosmos, Tendermint performance work, stuff like BLS signature aggregation for validators. A lot of these features we need to resource, prioritize, and move forward in order to increase transaction throughput and to make these chains even more resilient for the next round of adoption. That's kind of where my head's at. That's where Strangelove's going to be spending its time.
Yeah, so a little bit of a bear market gives room for a little bit of a breather that everybody can reassess and improve the systems. And I think that's also a net benefit for the whole industry to make it more robust and more secure. Saki, any final words from your side? Otherwise, I think I'll see you in Prague next week, right?
I will see you. I am very much looking forward to seeing you. I am very much looking, and just I want to show Gateway to close this out. Still tickets are available. If you can,
let me drop the link actually.
Huh?
Let me drop the link in the chat.
Gateway.events. What is Gateway? so Rockaway, who is a phenomenal member of the Cosmos ecosystem, early investor in Agoric, also huge Solana seed round investor, made a lot of money off of that. Fantastic fund, fantastic member of the ecosystem, is organizing this. It's not put on by the ICF, it's not put on by Ignite, any of the stuff. Has organized this conference. They really put it together in like 2 months, which is really cool. If you can get to Prague and you are feeling sad about, you're part of the Terra community, you're in Europe, you feel like your community is dead, there is a Cosmos community event on Monday that is excited to meet you. We are going to be, the other thing that's going on is, the thing I've been shilling, I will be talking about Sommelier there. I am very excited about that. I just gave my first full-length Sommelier talk at this Prague conference in Prague. I'm doing it again at Gateway. Psyched about that. But the other thing I'm psyched about is Inter. I've been tearing my hair out for months. Okay, got to launch the stablecoin. How am I going to compete with Terra? Honestly, this thing is I think what atom holders are asking for and waiting for, and what will take the DeFi ecosystem in Cosmos to the next level. Because if you're long Atom, probably other Cosmos ecosystem tokens soon, this is going to be the way forward for DeFi and Cosmos. Agoric is really building a great ecosystem for DeFi on their chain. That full ecosystem they want. So we're sending Inter out into the interchain. Juno, we want people on Juno to use Inter. We want people on Osmosis to use Inter. We want people on Evmos to use Inter. We want there to be 900 Evmos-based chains. All of these things really matter.
And is Inter backed by Atom, or how is that?
Inter will be backed by Atom. I shared a link to the white paper, and people have been pretty fascinated by this idea of using Build to back Inter. The high side of using Build to back Inter might be 0.5% of the issuance to begin with. It's really, this is an Atom-backed stablecoin. It is why Atom, right? Why should it be an Atom-backed stablecoin? Why is there actually no other real option, right? Because you want an asset, you can bring it over from IBC with the minimum amount of trust guarantees. There's no bridges, nothing else. So, anything else that we bring over has a different threat model. Atom is traded on so many exchanges. It has a really great decentralization regulatory story. All of these things are really important. And so if you want to build in the interchain a stablecoin, there's really no other asset to back it with other than Atom. And so come to Prague, hang out with me, the other people who are working on Inter. We're going to talk a lot about it. Probably not going to be recorded or broadcast. It's probably just going to be a bunch of people chilling out in a room and talking about it. But probably by the time we get to Austin in June, we'll have there'll be a website and all this stuff. We were originally planning on making for the Agoric ecosystem, making Prague really about launching the foundation, which is something I'm also doing. It's also hilarious to me. Everyone's like, Zeki, you're centralizing everything by just doing too much. I'm like, this is ridiculous.
Yes, doing a lot. You're everywhere.
I am everywhere, but I work my ass off. That's why I'm everywhere.
Yeah, I know you're super active. Same for Jack. I think a lot of builders in Cosmos, even if you look at what Sunny is doing, and they're fully committed to what you guys are doing, and that's really amazing. This passion that you guys have for what you're building and contributing and learning and keep improving things. It's really.
I think it goes back to the reason why we're all here. The reason why all of the Tendermint people fought for years and then blew up into a bunch of separate companies, but we all still work on the software, is because this original vision of the open internet that we grew up with as kids has been changed and attacked by the Web2 giants. And a lot of us want to see the web go back to that. And we're doing our best to build software to enable communities to be self-sovereign on the internet. And that's a mission that we all think is really important, and we continue to work on. I'm in a chat room with Sunny and a bunch of Terra people right now trying to like get a solution for the Terra chain to help mitigate other risks. So, you know, we're all working on this thing full time. I wake up and do this every day, and I have a team of people who do. So does Zaki, so does Sunny, so does, you know, all of the other folks in the ecosystem, and we're not going anywhere.
Yeah, and I wake up every day trying to communicate that with the cosmonauts. That's my inspiration.
Okay.
But I'm really inspired by
you do an amazing job, Cryptocito. Like, you have been the sort of cheerleader and like announcer for this ecosystem in a way that we've drastically needed for years. And it's been great to see somebody from the community just come out and say, I've got this, grab the flag and carry it forward. And like, thank you so much for doing that. I can't say thank you enough for that.
No, thank you. I mean, you originally brought me into this, so I must thank you. And I'm going to change my tagline on Twitter to cheerleader of Cosmos.
No, that undersells it. We love you, man. We really love and appreciate everything that you do.
I really, really appreciate this. And yeah, come to Prague. I hope to see you there. I'm really excited to see you. Zaki, I think, Jack, you're not coming, right? Or are you?
I'm not. I am expecting a baby sometime in the next month. So we don't know when it's going to come. So
very bullish news.
It is very bullish news. More cosmonauts.
Nice. Yeah, but a lot of people are there. Dean is there, founder of Agoric. Sunny will be there. I think a bunch of other Osmosis people. Federico from Evmos is going to be there. Billy Rennekamp, Ethan Frey from, father of Cosmos, the inventor of Cosmos, the Celestia team, Quicksilver, Informal Systems. Everyone's going to be there. It's going to be really cool. I'm really looking forward to it.
You guys, your Dean's
Agoric and
Axelar. Yeah. Santi's coming. We're going to be doing workshops on how to build on top of Agoric. There is, if you want to program the IBC network, you can learn how to use the Agoric Agoric programming system. We're going to walk through the whole intersystem. Nice. We're like, there's so much stuff going on. It's going to be like super fun.
Awesome.
So they say we're having a party. Like, it's going to be cool.
Yeah.
Oh, and also, I mean, it's like also there's going to be huge Cosmos presence in Austin. So if you can't make Prague, in the US,
is that a side event of the main of Consensus, or?
Yeah, so there's a couple of moving pieces here. There was supposed to be a Terra side event. I suspect that's probably not happening now.
Consensus is going to be great. Yeah, so there's going to be a lot of Strangelove folks. I think Strangelove is sending 5 people to Consensus, so we will have a presence.
Yeah, and there's going to be but Informal has a venue for April 10th where we're going to have a party and also speakers and like chill out, and it's going to be super fun. And so we're or not April, June 10th. I don't know what month.
Yeah, June. And then it's September Cosmoverse. That's also going to be. We have so much demand. It's absolutely crazy. We're in talks with Terra, but unfortunately, that they just told us that sorry, we have to cancel all events for this year. We wanted to get them involved big time, and we have been talking with them for a couple of weeks now. But yeah, it is what it is. Anyways, thanks so much for doing this. We had a lot of people here, over 400. So yeah, I hope people are not losing faith in the industry. They're not panicking too much. They're not overthinking everything. But yeah, obviously crypto is a very shaky and volatile industry at times. So yeah, hope to see you in Prague, and we'll look forward to it.
Let's go, cosmonauts. Yes. Keep the faith. Let's get this shit.
Take care, guys. See you.
Later, everybody.